Trying to choose a streaming video on demand app in Australia at the moment is a bit like trying to find the right remote and source input combination. We're just sport for choice here in Australia at the moment. It used to just be Netflix, Amazon Prime, Stan, Foxtel Now. But over the last couple of years, we've seen the addition of Binge and Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus and BritBox and a whole bunch more as well. And now we've got Paramount Plus as well. So, is it any good? I'm Finders Entertainment Editor Chris Stead, and today I'm reviewing Paramount Plus. Now, Paramount Plus isn't as new as it might seem. It's actually an evolution of the 10 All Access service undertaken by parent company Viacom CBS. Now, here in Australia, it costs $8.99 a month, or you can buy a yearly plan for $89.99. And that puts it at the lower end of the market. In fact, it's one of the cheaper services available. It's a lot cheaper than the likes of Netflix and Stan, and it comes under Disney Plus and also comes under Binge as well. Slightly more than Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus, so definitely on the cheaper side of the streaming services that are available at the moment. Now, in the USA, they've got different types of plans to what we have here. They've got a cheaper ad-supported plan, and they've got a more expensive premium plan, which has like 4K, Dolby Vision, and HDR10 support. Now, here in Australia, we don't get that premium plan. We don't get the 4K, the Dolby Vision, or the HDR support, but we also don't get the ads. So it's priced in the middle there, which is nice to see. We're not getting price gouged for once like we usually do in Australia when it comes to pacing up against the US prices. Feature-wise, Paramount Plus is a little light on. You get 3 simultaneous streams with your purchase, and that may be a little bit tight for the larger families. Strangely, you also can't set up different profiles, which again doesn't quite make sense considering this is a service which is very much targeted towards kids, with Nickelodeon and Nick Jr. content taking up a lot of the available shows. So I gotta think that those will come in the future, but they're definitely not here at launch. Other creature features like picture-in-picture mode, the ability to download content, stuff like that isn't available at launch either. And in terms of the available formats, you've got PC, Mac, or browsers basically. You've got iOS and Android devices. This is actually running off Apple TV 4K right now. And then you've got Chromecast as well. Now, smart TV support and also video game console support isn't with us at launch, and that again is a bit of a letdown and something that we should see hopefully in the future. Now, in regards to its interface, Paramount Plus has effectively gone to Disney and pressed copy paste. There's no wow factor here. It's pretty much what we've already seen before, except a fair bit blander. The algorithm which judges the kind of what's recommended for you is way out of whack. I looked up Transformers before and it's tried to recommend me NCIS and iCarly, which is just it didn't even recommend me the other Transformers movies, for example. So, I mean, that's stuff that can be improved over time, but at the moment, obviously, that's not a great result. I'll go into the content a little bit in the future, but I've also noticed in the interface, a lot of the imagery, not so much with these bigger ones, but when you go into some of the actual posters inside here, a lot of it's low res. As you can see, there's no ratings that have been integrated into this, and the write-ups are pretty bleak, and there's nothing else on that screen. Now, you do get to see a bit more information when you're on a browser. It will show you some other recommendations down the bottom. As I pointed out, they're actually not useful recommendations, but there's recommendations. But yeah, there's no, you're not going to see IMDb ratings or Rotten Tomatoes ratings in here to help guide you. In fact, they've got a top rated section, but what's that based on? I don't know. And the write-ups are very, very basic. It's a little bit better when you get into the actual TV shows. So if we go into SpongeBob here, and you get into your episodes, and you get some episode breakdowns and all the seasons, and you know, from that side of things, the interface gets a little bit better, but really it's not quite up to speed with what we'd expect in 2021. And it's also a bit of a shame that they don't go to the effort of grouping the movies together, because they've got so many movie series here. Like they've got all the Harry Potters, Lord of the Rings, Austin Powers, Mission Impossibles, Transformers, but they're not grouped together. So you've got to find them all individually. At least the search works, and it works well. Now, really, we're here for the content, right? So let's talk about it. That's what it's all about. So much like we've seen with the Disney Plus app, the Paramount Plus app has its kind of pillar content that you can see here. So you've got the Paramount Plus channel, which is your originals and your exclusives. At launch, there's 24 shows in there available. One of them's a movie, the rest of them are TV shows. I'll talk a little bit more about this in the future, but the fact that there's a lot of Australian-made content coming to Paramount, I think is a really cool thing. So they are investing in the local film industry and the local TV industry, which is great. Showtime, which is the home of a lot of the big TV shows that you would likely be coming to the service for. Californication, Dexter, Dice. You've got Comedy Central, it's got every single South Park episode. And look, that's one of the great things about Paramount Plus is that when you land on these shows, it's every episode. So you're not just getting a couple of seasons or spot episodes here or there, it's a lot. You know, so there's a lot of content in each of these things. So it doesn't look like a lot when you go through it, but they're claiming about 20,000 episodes and movies in the first year, or in this year, 2021. And it doesn't really kind of feel like it when you're browsing around. However, you do get the impression it will get there based on the amount of stuff that's kind of hidden in each of these individual shows. For example, if you go to the MTV channel, you've got every single episode of Survivor USA here. You've got, you know, all the Geordie Shore stuff. So a heap of reality TV programming. There's a lot of episodes buried in here. Same, of course, with your Nickelodeon stuff, especially your Nick Jr., where you've got your SpongeBob's and all that type of stuff. So, actually, SpongeBob's probably in just Nickelodeon, not Nick Jr., but so heaps and heaps of content in here for kids. It makes it pretty compelling for families. And the Smithsonian Channel as well. There's a few docos you can dive into. There is a pretty good variety of content here. What you're going to get in the future is looking really, really, really promising. There's a lot of investment going in. Like I said, Australian productions, a lot of good stuff happening overseas with big brands like Star Trek, Halo. The series will be on here, which I think will be massive. But also very interestingly, they've invested in sport. So we're not seeing a sport channel on here yet, but it can't be too far away because Paramount Plus will be the home of soccer for the Matildas, the Socceroos, the A-League, W League, the AFC Championship, the FFA Cup. So all that stuff's going to be through Paramount Plus live. So that's going to be a big selling point for this. And while we're talking about live, I didn't mention actually at the start, you can actually watch the news live. Now it is CBS News, so it's a bit US centric. That's a constant live feed.
Outdoor games, but again,
as you can see. There's a small part of me that just can't let go of the fact that I could watch all of this content last year on apps I was already paying for, and now they've been swapping off into yet another app which I have to pay more for to access that content. But such is life. Despite its boring design, Paramount Plus worked on all the formats. I tested them all and it worked fine on all of them. A little bit laggy on the Android one perhaps, but otherwise it performed as I expected it to. Perhaps biggest crime is it's just a little bit outdated. The interface is really bland. It's lacking a lot of features that we're seeing in other like-minded streaming video on demand apps in 2021. There's no 4K, there's no Dolby Atmos, you can't set up profiles. These things we should be getting in this day and age, and potentially they're on the road, but they're not here now. Thankfully, it is priced to meet that kind of expectation. It's not too expensive, it's not pushing itself up into that premium tier as streaming video on demand service, so maybe we can give it a pass mark for that. Certainly the content, as you can see, is really high quality bar, and it's really great to have all of the episodes from so many series available in one spot. And I think people will get their value for money with Paramount Plus. Now, if you want to see a full list of all the movies, a full list of all the TV shows, and most importantly, pick up a free 7-day trial, make sure you head over to finder.com.au. You'll also see my full review there. As for me, I think I'm going to get into some Indiana Jones.